And speaking of getting started on time, hello and welcome to Pit Against a live Flesh and Blood Collins show. Uh, I'm William Table and Legs, and I'm joined by my constant co-host Kevin Smurph. Kevin, what's up?
What's up?
Pit Against is a live Collins show. If you'd like to be live on air talking to us about your hot take, join the Pit Against Discord by clicking on the link in the description. Then join the waiting room channel. Put your hot takes in the topics check channel. If you like your take, we'll put you on air for a mic check and then put you on air. Yeah, something like that. And if you also could put a take in the topics text channel, or in the stream chat, or in the comments for me to bring up. As always, Kevin, we just had the biggest event of the year, the biggest event of the month, U.S. Nationals.
Sure.
And you were there. I wasn't. It was on the whole other side of the country.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. Tell me about Nationals.
Nats was really, really weird. I'm not gonna. Well, I don't want to touch any of the supply drama stuff that people are talking about. If that's everywhere already. But no, it was really interesting seeing how many of each deck kind of showed up. Because there was like 25 people playing Gravy Bones, which is way higher than
That's a lot of people playing Gravy
I
Bones.
expected. It is. It's way higher than I expected. There was
Like,
only 8 Marlin and
It's
13
not a-
Puffin.
It's not a lot
So
if you think about like the class or the hype around the class, but if you think about
yeah,
card acquisition, that's a lot of people.
yes, yeah, that's like the actual thing. Which I guess like half of that is the Gravy Armory deck actually just gets you like 2/3 of the way there. Um,
Yeah.
so that probably helped it a decent bit. But it was interesting seeing how many of them showed up, and also just how wide the meta was. I think Florian was only like 12% or something of the meta, and maybe not even that, maybe like 11.
Considering I
And then
think
it fell off. Mm,
Aurora was like in Pro Tour, and I'm gonna
like
argue it's
33.
like comparable. It was like a third of the meta.
Yeah. And so like that would be the equivalent of 180 Florians showing up to this event,
Yeah, that's
which there were only 60.
yeah, that's a lot.
Like,
It's a lot more.
uh-huh.
So yes.
Yeah, no, the diversity in this meta was great, and more Gravy Bones than I expected showed up, and I mean that just kind of continued to show itself as the event went on, and as people made day 2, and our top 8 was pretty reasonably diverse. I think there were 2 Florians, but also 2 Verdances, and I think those were the repeats.
Yes.
So
Yeah, I
we had
believe
6
so.
different heroes in top 8, which is a pretty good sign for the game. So, but I don't think there were some like polarizing
Mhm.
matchups in top 8. But I think it's one of those metas where it's like every deck has a matchup it doesn't want to see.
Yes.
Um, so
How was
yeah,
your weekend specifically?
it was decent. I mean, these trips are always a fun time regardless.
Yeah.
But competition wise, um, it was all right. My day 1 was really good. Um, I started out 6-2 with a 5-0 CC on day 1 because I hit all insanely good matchups for Prism. Um,
Holy frick.
and then I 0-3'd the day 2 draft. So I was 1-5 in draft. And then I 2-2'd the last rounds of CC. So I went 7-2 in CC and 1-5 in draft.
There's
And then
yeah, go ahead.
I 7-2'd the Battle Hardened for 19th in that out of like 300 something.
That's
It
not
was a
bad.
9-round Swiss Battle
there-
Hardened.
Were there any other 2 O2s in top 8 for the Battle Hard?
For what? N- Yes, but they had better breakers.
Sure, and that's what I guess I mean is like
Yeah,
you
technically I
did
bubbled,
really well.
even though I was not live for
No,
top 8.
no, but
Um,
it's still impressive. I think it's
yeah,
really good.
no, I'm very happy with a 7-2 record at a 9-round battle
Yeah.
hardened
Yeah.
on Prism. That's a
On
long
day
ass
3
day.
of a long weekend
Yeah,
too. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that is games 16 through like 23 or something,
That's a
24.
lot. That's a lot.
So I'm pretty happy with the way Constructed went.
Mm-hmm.
14-4 on the weekend is pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Um, that's like one step off like event winning CC
Yeah, that's
records.
not bad at
So
all.
um,
Boosting Spin Dog asks, "Are you on a team?"
yes, this actually was my first event as a member of Team Ascent.
Ooh,
So
ladies
yeah.
and gentlemen, I forgot that he was on an actual team. So this is really exciting. Yeah, that's super cool though.
Yeah. So
Heck yeah.
uh, I joined technically like 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks
Sure.
ago at this
Sure.
point. I had worked with them a bit for London, stayed
Mm-hmm.
with them, and I'm still working with the Roanoke group, but I am officially on
Team
Team
10.
Ascent, and that was the um, first event with them. So
Yeah. And he did awesome. Um,
mm, I
he
did
did
all right.
awesome in CC. Okay, how's your
Yes.
weekend if you just look at CC? It's still stellar, right?
Oh, my weekend if it's just CC is great.
Yeah, it's insane.
Like I'm super happy with it. Like I
Mm-hmm.
would have been X1 at the end of like a day one of a calling, which I would have been really happy with.
Yeah, that would.
Um, and then if I were to go like day two, I probably would have made top 8
Yeah, it's
or pretty close. So I'm pretty happy with the 14-4 CC record. It's like that's like almost top 8 calling, but not winning
yeah.
calling
You have to
level.
be able to do both, right? Like
Yeah, oh
there
yeah,
are
yeah.
there are a decent number of people who I think are very good at draft and Flesh and Blood and choose to play decks that will never get them anywhere in CC. And so you do need to be good at CC and pick a good deck and be practiced on it. But then also you have to not O3 your draft pods.
You're sure right.
Yeah, yeah. Which I guess will lead me to my first question. We'll just keep ripping the Band-Aid off. Who did you draft in your drafts?
It was Puffin for both of them.
Puffin had
Um,
a rough weekend in draft. It felt like, cause in
it wasn't getting a lot of attention.
mm-hmm.
I think until the calling. I know there was I saw a lot of 3-0 Puffin drafts out of people in the calling.
Day
Um,
2 of the Nationals, I think both the Puffins went something like, was it 1-2 and 0-3 or something like that? I don't remember. They were both
we
bad.
had we had 2 Puffins at O2 in my second pod,
Or I
and
guess I meant like even on coverage, like in the main
yeah, yeah, yeah.
draft.
No, like in another pod,
Mm-hmm.
in like pod 4,
Yeah,
we had 2 Puffins that were O2s, and that was
that's
one of them. So,
insane. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think Puffin just got a little weird because suddenly it felt like on that weekend the like Red Spine Manta Marlin builds really spiked in popularity in the draft format where there was
Yeah.
like 2 a pod, which then really cannibalizes like an aggro Puffin build, which means they all have to be on like blue base boats.
Like a value
Puffin.
Puffin.
Yeah, and then there aren't enough cards to go around for that, um, which makes things really, really tough for the Puffins. And you can end up with like one Marlin build that's canon and just absolutely wrecks everyone, or you just still have one Red Spine Manta Marlin that runs everyone over. Um, and then neither of those builds interact with the gravy stuff really, not
No.
substantially.
Yeah, no.
So like it felt like the 2 non-gravy decks were kind of fighting each other a little bit, and then the gravy decks are just kind of like we've got our own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We're just kind of chilling.
Yeah, they're just chilling,
Um,
and that is interesting. Because, I mean, do you think that affects how people look at the draft format going forward? Like in the sense of like the expected amount of heroes in a draft pod and cards that go around and stuff like that.
um, it might shift the like 3-3-2 to a 2 Puffin
Mm-hmm.
instead. Um, but I don't think it's anything because I think Marlin can reasonably support 3 just because her ability plus the cannon makes for very efficient use of blues out of deck. As long as she just gets a bunch of blue 3 blocks, she's happy, or even just yellows to.
Yeah.
As long as she has enough to send an overpower harpoon, she's fine. I think Puffin might shift to the 2 for a bit, but I think people will come back around to that as Marlins start like cannibalizing each other again.
Yeah.
And
The natural
then
cycle of drafts.
Yeah, and then the nimble, like once because really aggro decks in this format just share the nimblism package.
Okay.
And also like the red and yellow charter course get really high priority in those decks. Just because they have enough innate
other nimblisms.
Yeah. But it's weird. It's going to self-correct a bit. Gravy just does his own kind of weird thing. It's not quite... It feels weird because it's like the same shape as Mistveil, but it doesn't draft the way Mistveil did, where it's like very clearly 3 distinct kind of heroes.
Okay.
And it feels like Puffin and Marlin are like a bit closer to each other than either of them are to Gravy.
I think that probably also has to do a bit with the generic and pirate cards too. The way they fit into the draft and fit into the heroes.
And of course Scurv like makes that also weird. Like,
oh yeah, Scurv just throws a whole wrench in it, which is super wild. Which also seems to be kind of a bomb, right? Like
a little bit, yeah. I mean, it is an inherently powerful ability. It's a Blossom of Spring plus a chain activation like every other turn. Just because there's enough stuff where it's like you don't need to hit as Scurv to get gold. You're not getting your first gold. Yeah. You're just going to mutiny it, or you're going to light fingers it, or you're going to lost in transit it. Like, you have so many ways to get gold without having to hit, and then you start hitting. And so you get more gold.
And stealing gold also just affects them a lot too, right? Because
it's double value.
It's like, huge value.
Yeah. So everything just gets like weird.
Oh yeah.
With Scurv, which also Bird Cabrera getting Scurv in both drafts is nuts.
Insane.
It's nuts. Well, the first one she took pack 3.
What?
Uh-huh.
Oh, did I just not see that or hear that? She took it pack 3. What? Pick 1?
Pack 3. I'm pretty sure. Or like 1 or 2.
Yeah. Wait, but you just pivot at that point to Scurv? Pack 3? Is this like viable?
If you have enough,
is this something you need to think
generics,
about when you're playing draft?
She had 30 playables.
When you're drafting, you just need to think like, okay, well, I can only have like 15 class cards because what if in the first 2 packs? Because what if I open
well, Scurv? I can only have 10 class cards.
Yeah, 10 class cards.
Or
however
probably like 10 or 12 like picks that you're burning.
13?
I think it's 12 max.
12.
It would be 12.
Math.
42 to 30.
We can do math.
No, it's 11 because you have to pick Scurv.
And then also that that is implying that you get all Scurv cards in the 3rd pack as well. So
yes.
Right? So like if you end up having to last pick 2 class cards.
Yep. She had 30 playables.
That's insane.
So
that's something I'm gonna have to think about going into drafts.
It was something I was thinking about in my first draft. Like, there were just no class cards coming to me, and I'm like, maybe I'll just hit a Scurv at some point, and this deck will be sick.
Yeah, it would be sick. God dang.
But
yeah, frick. So Puffin stock's down, Scurv stock's up. Gravy remains stable in the meta market. But we already did mention it. Gravy in CC is kind of pulling a bit of a Syndra, where it was he's kind of popping off this first weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like you have a weird board state deck and people don't know how to evaluate it yet and don't have the stuff to play into it. So, like, all your Florians show up and don't super have the tools to deal with it, and or don't have the tools to deal with it efficiently. But then you see Verdance, who already has tools to deal with it efficiently, and Prism, who can deal with it relatively efficiently. Like,
yeah, wild.
Those decks are fine just because they have the stuff built in, the same way Prism had stuff built in to deal with Syndra on release weekend. Like,
yeah, I think it's wild. It's different. I shouldn't say it's different. It's interesting just seeing new heroes pop off the week they come out. Do you think that makes it so that people should consider picking up the new deck sooner?
It's possible. I mean, it's just like the bigger thing is like it's weird that it's the illusionist doing it.
Yeah.
Because illusionist usually takes a while for people to figure out.
That is pretty true. Huh. Yeah, because okay, so what was the cycle for Miss Vale? It was new was loosely figured out pretty quickly. And then
and as well as Enigma.
And then it was
and then by US Nats 2 weeks later Zen exploded.
Yeah.
Everyone was just dead. Nobody else was real.
Yeah, people figured out Zen and then it was over. It depends. TM. Thank you, Charlie. Yeah, I think it is interesting how fast he just kind of showed up, right?
Yeah.
Cuz
I think half of it is like that people are drafting it as well. So they get to like see the quick early busted stuff, and then we're gonna have the answers for it, or people are gonna have answers for it in their deck.
Or actually,
when we see other Nats.
That reminds me, we were kind of talking about it earlier. These gravies like had really good conversion into day 2.
Yeah, 52% or something.
Yeah,
it was 13 of 25 made day 2.
That's a lot. That's a lot for any hero.
Yep.
But then they weren't doing super awesome, but they were doing super great in draft, or it's implied that they were.
The CC win rate was below 40. It was 44.5% or something. So they were probably drafting closer to 2.5 wins.
Yeah.
Because they're just playing gravy bones.
Yeah, and it's kind of like that. I'm gonna call it the Michael Hamilton effect, where you play and draft Icelander all weekend. Where if you're just playing and drafting gravy bones all weekend, you've got a lot of experience in gravy bones, and you've probably been doing that leading up to the event too. There's probably a non-zero amount of people going into this weekend where someone, on their team's like, okay, what's your plan into this weekend? And the answer is, I'm just going to play gravy and then I'm going to draft gravy. I'm just going to force draft gravy and see what happens. And then it probably worked out pretty well. Like, frick.
I would be very curious to see if somebody has those stats stored away somewhere.
That would be sick.
What the Gravy Bones CC or the people who played Gravy Bones and CC, what their draft records were, and
I guess we can figure that out. Technically, we have that information.
We could.
It is not compiled.
Gonna.
Yeah, it's quite a. It'd be some work. So, that I don't feel like doing.
I'm actually curious now. Well, I don't know if it shows us the draft deck lists because those are not submitted online.
Oh, whether or not they
the
played
CC deck lists were.
Gravy all weekend.
Yeah.
That would be good to know. Well, do we know what Bird drafted? Scurv and Scurv.
Double Scurv.
Double Scurv. We just talked about that. Double Scurv.
Yeah, but that was on stream.
True.
Yeah, that was she was in the stream pod both times.
Bird played out of their mind, by the way, and all the games that we watched, and it was me and my wife on the couch, and she was like, "Let's fucking go! Kill them with skeletons!" It was great. We were enjoying the stream so much.
No, Bird is a fantastic player and has absolutely been like she's been like on that fringe for a
Yeah,
while, and
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
she was an Enigma player, and she went like X1 in CC in Amsterdam for top
Oh
32,
wow.
playing Enigma in like still Bond Zen meta, and her
That's
only loss was
actually
to a
insane.
Zen. So like, nah, Bird has been up there for a while, um,
I may
but
have just made a
uh,
ping, but it'll be all right. Um,
they do not show what heroes we drafted.
oh, okay. That's fine.
So
Um, I guess, and this is a great opportunity if anybody wants to give any hot takes and show up on stream themselves and talk to us about their hot takes. But I was going to ask, do you think this Nationals, we're looking back on it, so the top eight was, it was Gravy, two Verdants, two Florian,
two Florian, one Prism,
one new.
one Azalea, one new.
Okay. Do you think that top eight slash what we understand, kind of loosely happened during Swiss, this is reflective of what we expect the rest of the national season to look like
Um,
at individual events or maybe as a whole?
I think it's gonna shift slightly more Verdance and slightly away from Florian, and I think
Okay.
that's because Florian I think is gonna go down because of Gravy Bones and Verdance.
Yes.
Um, I think Prism is gonna be just dependent on if there's a a dedicated Prism player in that country.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was Andrew Cook in our top eight. Like it,
Yes. Yes.
he's been on Prism forever,
Mm-hmm.
and he top eighted London. Like
Yeah,
he
yeah,
was
yeah.
the number one seed out of Swiss in London. Like
Well, there you go.
if there's a like
Yeah.
that's the caliber of Prism player you need to have a Prism in top eight
Yes.
of a big event.
It's not just, you know,
It's
X.
not Prism won't do that by herself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can't just throw enough prisms into a tournament that one of them makes top eight.
Yeah,
You have to have the right player
a
on it.
certain caliber of
Yeah,
Prism
yeah,
player.
yeah.
In my opinion,
No, no, no.
there's
If anyone out there is like, hey, hold on a minute, I play Prism, become that caliber of Prism in your region. Do it.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
uh,
The new is not a surprise. The Azalea
mm-mm,
is not a surprise.
mm-mm.
Um,
Both good
because like
decks.
new will absolutely play the game with Florian. Can play the game with Gravy, but it gets weird and it's probably Gravy favored. Um, does beat up Verdance pretty good. Just because you take the healing potions out of their deck and then they do no damage to you.
That's insane. I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah, it's kind of messed up. Um, Azalea's just like our best big numbers deck, and
Mm-hmm.
Dominate gets like has she's been doing well into Florian. She does well
Mm-hmm.
into
Mm-hmm.
Verdance. Gravy Bones is probably what deals with her, and then it's like Gravy Bones probably will struggle into some of the aggro decks in Prism. So like Prism will probably get replaced with a Syndra in some metas,
An aggro deck that
or
preys on these board state kind of decks.
yes,
And yes,
um,
well, I'm gonna call Wizard a board state, or the term I prefer is like setup decks, where they're just like
sure.
they need to set something up.
I think there's a difference between setup decks that are setup combo and
Yeah,
setup permanent, like turn over turn permanent
yeah,
value.
and I think you could break it down. Yeah, I feel like you could take setup and you could break it down into combo or board state.
Recurring.
But I think calling them setup decks is like a very easy way to put them on the big overarching thing. Anyways, aggro decks have traditionally will just
Yes.
eat a setup deck, right? They
Yes.
give you no room to set up. So,
Yes. Yep.
mm-hmm.
That's so I think the Azalea slot is going to be flexible and the Prism slot is going to be flexible, but people shouldn't be surprised if the new becomes a marionette.
Mm-hmm.
If one of the Earth Heroes drops out and another Azalea comes in, or another uh, assassin comes in, um, it's weird, but I think it'll be. This is not honestly that crazy a top eight, and will probably actually be fairly representative of what we see when we average out all of the nationals
Okay. Yeah.
top eights.
That's what I was kind of thinking.
I think.
What are like the next biggest national events? Like the next largest ones, right? So it goes U.S.
In
and
terms
then
of size or date.
size.
Canada.
Oh yes, Canadian Nats is fairly large.
Australia, UK
Yes. Oh,
are probably the next three.
okay.
Brazil is probably getting up there. Spain is
Oh,
probably
I
a
want to
step
watch a
down from that.
Brazilian Nationals in
Oh
2025.
my gosh.
I want to hear. I want to hear
that's-
some of the best casting of Brazilian Nationals.
Yeah.
Like those players go hard, and I love it.
Yeah. I think those are like the biggest three after. I don't know what size Brazilian Nats is going to be, but those are like the other three are the biggest
They
ones
have a
that I
lot
can
of
think of.
players in Brazil.
They do have a lot more players. They're growing fast.
Do they have
so
a lot of road to nationals?
probably. I mean, it's a
Okay.
big ass country.
Boosting says.
So
Oh yeah, go no finish. Yeah, we'll finish that up.
Australia, Canada, Germany, and the UK are all
Germany.
capped at 160 and invite only, which isn't too surprising.
Flesh and Blood is a game of skill.
And then the 128 population or 128 entry caps are Brazil, France, Japan, New Zealand, Poland, and Singapore. So that's that next.
I'm not
tier.
surprised about any of these. I don't think. Like I think that all makes a lot of sense.
I'm not either.
Boosty Spindog says, "Have you heard about Visage with gold?
Yes.
What does that mean?"
So Prism is now a 3 Fabled deck. You put Riches of Tropeldani in the deck.
Oh yes,
So when Vestige is online, every card off the top of your deck is 3 resources because they're all light yellow or Riches, which just remakes you the gold, or a blue, which means you're going to pay 2 to draw a card, so you just go +1 resource.
Oh, always like guarantee. It's
Yes.
like what Victor wants to do, but like
When Vestige is online, yes.
guarantees. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Charlie says Azalea would need tech like Sleep Darks to beat Gravy, and says it's not impossible. I already thought it
reasonable.
wasn't impossible. Like Azalea just pumps an arrow to the moon 3 times a
She has she has like 3 turns to kill Gravy, and Chum is actually a very frustrating card for Azalea to deal with.
I forgot about ALS.
Efficiently.
AL Chum.
But
AO
no,
Chum.
Sleep Darts would make a big difference in that matchup and actually would just like stall out the game a ton for Azalea and help a lot because he just literally
Sleep
can't
Dart
play allies.
turns off hero abilities. Oh, his hero
Yes.
ability is he can play allies with Watery
Is
Grave.
the blue card to play Watery Grave. So he literally wouldn't be able to play an ally
Wow.
under Sleep Dart.
They pump a Sleep Dart to dominated 13. Then he just
You don't
has
even need to
like,
dominate it.
shrug.
They have 1
have
point
no
of Battle
points.
Worn and 1 point of Blade Break.
They're so fragile. He's
Yeah.
literally made of bones.
They're entirely reliant on like they get an ally down and they get positive value on that. Like that's all they're relying on. But like they go up so much value, it's fine. So
That is funny. That's actually really interesting.
no,
Sleep
that
Dart.
matchup is definitely winnable, but I think it's going to be hard for Azalea. Although Sleep Dart probably moves that needle a decent bit as long as you can find them. But Chum also is probably a very frustrating card unless you have exactly like a Bolt and Shot for 6+, and it actually probably has to be 7 because Sawbone's making it. Deal 1 less is probably a pain if you have a yellow Bolt and Shot with a pump.
Does that matter for Prism too? If you get Sleep Darted?
I cannot tutor Figments and I cannot flip them. So, yes.
But you flip him at instant speed. But then I guess you have
I can
to
flip
do
him at
it
instant
right
speed.
there.
I cannot do it for free with Rapture on my turn, though.
True.
Which is
'Cause
the actual
Rapture
way I
is
want
on
to
your
be flipping.
turn.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the actual
Sleep
way
Dart
I
might
want
be
to be
like a
flipping now.
real card. That's kind of interesting. That's super good. Wow.
Let's see, what else does it
Like
hit?
like a
Verdance doesn't ping
fully.
for health. Florian doesn't make extra rune chance or embodiments.
I don't think those matter. Did those
Um,
games go that long? I guess they do run a lot of D-Reacts.
they matter enough, I think.
Okay.
Into Florian, they probably matter, and into Verdance, I would assume it matters just in terms of like raw value, especially when you start dominating stuff and they just have to be
Mm-hmm.
like discard fruits for 3 value.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but that, what else is there? I mean, I think any of the high seas heroes actually get kind of hosed by Sleep Dart.
Especially
Marlin
because
loses
it
her
feel
ability to load.
yeah, it feels like it's interesting because Flesh and Blood they either make decks where decks are uh
Oldham getting
they're
sleep darted didn't matter.
yeah, it either is completely wrapped around their card pool or it's completely their decks are completely wrapped around the hero. Like Marionette is just it's every card in the deck has to think about its relationship to the hero, and then like
Yeah.
Aurora, it's like, oh no, I
Barely
don't.
used her hero text.
Yeah. You're like, oh, I
Yeah.
guess I have a mana sink if I need one.
Yeah,
So
it's the difference between Oldham, who didn't really care about his hero
mhm.
ability and also literally couldn't it wouldn't matter if he lost it, and Starvo,
It just
who
doesn't
lost four
function
points
anymore.
of value per turn
Yeah,
on
yeah,
average
yeah, yeah.
if
Which is
he
why
wasn't fusing.
Azalea is the deck I'm gonna be playing in LL. No, but I'm still.
No, it's
If
not.
you're paying attention, I still don't know what deck I want to play in LL. And
I'm just playing New Prism.
we have tournaments coming up that are gonna be or
We have Pro
pro
Quests.
quests that are gonna be LL. We've
Yeah,
already got ours like dated. Like we know when it's gonna be locally. I'm pretty sure. Is it pro quest?
that's a skirmish.
Is that skirmish? Is a skirmish also
That's a
LL?
skirmish.
Skirmish is also
Yes.
LL. Okay, I knew it was and store level event that we already knew the was going to be
Yeah.
LL. No, actually, we already got our pro quest. Yeah, yeah, absolutely, 100%. Um, my only other big question, man, we burned through these stupid questions, so that means people have to come on air and ask questions. But my only other question is, how long are we expecting this meta to stay super wide? How long does it take for Gravy Bones to like become the one deck format?
I think it's not really possible for him to be a one deck format
Sure. I
because of the
I think that
same.
was the weaker part of my question though. But like
Sure,
how
I
long
think
do we think this meta's wide?
I let me see
Because it feels
when each of those
cool.
big nationals are.
Sure, sure, sure. It feels cool that the meta is this wide because a lot of people can play a lot of different things, and I know there are some pro level players that think, well, if a meta's super wide, what do I prepare for? Which I think is stupid because what you do is you just play a deck that asks the big questions
Yeah,
in that point, and then the general wider meta may not be able to shouldn't be able to answer your question if you're asking the correct question. And I don't necessarily mean a question like, can you deal with my Oldham blocking? It's probably more like a question
hmm
like, I'm going to deal 40 damage in 2 to 3 turns. Can you handle that? Or something else akin to that.
yeah. I mean, it's Prism. Can you handle Heralds plus Angels,
Yeah,
or can
exactly.
you handle Spectra?
Yeah, and I thought
Um,
that's why I thought Prism or Gravy Bones even was actually even Verdant's kind of all these like setup decks were like great choices this weekend in hindsight because um the
there was no
meta's
because there was no standout aggro deck.
mm-hmm.
These decks were asking some of the most potent questions
Yes.
because we had these three kind of decks in Verdance, Gravy Bones, and Prism that are and Prism like didn't even perform super well. It
No.
was just like Andrew did well,
I mean
and
you
I
did
had a
well.
good CC record, but not a good draft record.
Sure.
Um, but like Prism was still doing its thing. It's still a powerful deck,
Mm-hmm.
and people had to have answers for it. And then you also had Florian, who was just like the king of numbers.
Yeah, and then Florian
Like
effectively was the quote unquote
the number,
aggro deck. He's the numbers deck. He's the
he was
value deck.
he's the number check.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah.
and you're looking
Uh,
for
so Germany and Canada are
Hmm.
not this weekend, but next weekend. So we actually have a CC calling this weekend
It's
in Bologna.
in Bologna. Yeah.
Um,
Bologna. Bologna.
and then we have two of the big Nats the next weekend, one the weekend after that, and one the weekend after that.
Wow. How much are those?
So we get it
Like
the
how many? I'm sorry.
160
I'm sorry. How
cap.
many LL points are those? I'll use more words in a
They should
sentence.
be 50,
50. Okay. Because
if I
they're
recall
different, right?
correctly.
Like each one's if the event's smaller, it gives less LL. Is that right?
So US Nats gives 50.
Mm-hmm.
A 96 person plus national championship gives 25.
Okay. All right, that makes sense. So
Got it.
Germany should be 50.
Okay. Uh, they'll all be 25.
Oh, you meant okay.
US Nats is
96 plus gives
50.
25.
96
I
plus
missed.
gives 25
I think
points.
I missed the plus. Yep, you're right.
Yeah. Um, I think
So new could be
Bologna
gone.
will be an interesting measure of how people responded, but I
Mm-hmm.
think it's going to be that first week of other nationals where we see it. And I think Verdance is probably still going to be the kind of top, will actually be like, people are viewing Verdance as like the best deck now. Um,
Is
but
that
I think
okay? Go ahead.
she's the best deck in that like people are putting, well, some people are putting her at S tier. I think she's just the top of tier one.
S tier.
Um,
Dude,
because I
what?
do think she's gonna struggle into some stuff like New or Marionette or Syndra or Azalea.
Yeah,
Um, they did fix the Prism matchup. The
sure.
Prism matchup is like 50-50 now instead of like 75-25 for Prism. Um, it honestly might be a little worse than 50-50 for Prism. I need to actually see if I can get some reps into those Verdance
I'm looking
players
at a tier
sometime.
list right now that put Verdance squarely in the middle of B tier.
And
Before U.S. Nationals.
before, yeah,
Yeah.
I think the piece that really made that weird is the Gravy matchup
Okay.
because Verdance's ability hits is any target,
Oh,
which lets you be way more flexible in how you clear allies.
that is, and it's like the opposite of a breakpoint in the sense, or I guess it is a breakpoint in the
Yeah,
sense like there is a couple of
it's
gravy allies that are like awkward to like kill,
yeah,
but if you can just ping one,
it would generally be super awkward for
or Rigor Mortis does
an Earth
nothing.
hero. Yeah, for an Earth hero to like clear a one health ally is actually usually really inefficient. And Verdant's ability just says no. You just
It,
play a heartbeat of Candlehold, and you can go ping, ping, ping.
dude, I always forget the nuance of her hero ability. Could you just discard a fruits and destroy Rigor Mortis
On your turn.
on your turn?
It
Okay.
does not ping on their turn.
I need to play against more Verdances. Well, I feel like I'm gonna.
Pulsing Aether, yeah, Pulsing Aether is also any target for 4 Arcane.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Oh, that's pretty good.
so there's a lot of Verdance has much more play than people thought. That being said, I think if Gravy establishes like double Sawbones, things get really awkward for Verdance really quickly because that Arcane gets really
Yeah.
kind of cut off at the knees. Um, but like Verdance has more tools than people
Mm-hmm.
expected, and then she just kind of blows up Florian,
Mm-hmm.
and then the assassin matchups are like the actual weakness for Verdance.
Yeah.
But then as soon as New is gone,
Yeah. New is the real problem, right? Like when it comes to like
yes,
meta decks, like she generally uh trashes on Verdance. Though
hmm
we did see a, in my opinion, a sad game of New versus Verdance. It was so close and so good, but
yes.
oh
I mean,
man.
Majin had to play that game
Oh
immaculately.
yeah. 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 Yeah.
Like he had to play it perfectly,
Mm-hmm.
and stuff had to line up for him where he just gets like 3 healing potions out early,
Yes.
and
So.
then Bird played 2 of his Everbloom lives,
Mm-hmm.
and that let her live at exactly 2, and then played his Epot to have 2 extra health,
It was so
and he found like exact
stressful.
lethal or
It was
some
so
nonsense.
yeah,
But
it
like
was exactly though, and it was so stressful.
it was such a well played game by both of them. Like that was
Such
probably
a
one of the best
such
games
a good
of
game
Flesh and
of Flesh
Blood
and Blood.
that's ever been on camera. Like
Go back and watch that one. New versus Verdance. That
yes,
was top 8, right?
semifinals
Semifinals.
Majin versus Bird.
So
It
good.
was it was so good, dude.
Um, but that said, like Verdance up.
Yep.
I forgot the core of the question we were talking about was frick. Um,
What is I guess it's just like where does the meta
yeah,
settle, right?
where does it land from here?
I mean,
It's
I think it's honestly going to be pretty close to what we had. Like
it's close to what we had,
I
but
guess
like your
until
sideboard
new
focus
leaves.
is going to shift a little bit.
Yeah, so when new leaves, I think we see Marionette come up a little bit, but actually not a ton. Um, and then because I think Guardian is gonna struggle into Gravy
I don't
because
know if
Gravy can.
Victor would. Tell me why.
So Victor is gonna can lose clashes to allies,
I'm sure you
but
can. I think in general he probably still wins a majority of them.
yeah, he wins against everything else in the deck.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um, the new gem might let him make enough gold to just kind of kill Gravy, and I think Gravy would have to side differently into that matchup, where it's just like they just play double whaler and then
Yeah.
you die.
Yes. That's absolutely crippling.
Um, but
Frick.
uh, I mean that matchup is not going to be the Enigma matchup,
No.
but it's
And
also not going to be easy.
so if
Just because
new
like some of the stuff
yeah,
is so inefficient.
if new finds a way to leave this national season, which looks very likely,
Yeah.
I I do think Victor gets much better, right?
Yes.
That's a large part of
Yep.
what's holding him back is new, and it's not just holding him back. It's like it's genuinely like a consideration someone makes when they're making their list, where they're just like, do I
Yes.
not run into news or do I
Yep.
tech for the new matchup? Right? Like it shifts deck building a lot.
Yeah. So like I agree. I think the problem is Verdant still just explodes you.
Fair. What if you don't tech for new and you tech for Verdance? I don't know what that looks like, but
Yeah, what does that look like?
I don't
Because
know.
even what they're doing now, like Arcane Compliance does nothing.
Sure.
Like Majin was winning his games by amping a Verdance ping to like 25.
Don't you go back and watch the Verdance games? That sounds interesting. I was just like Earth Hero
Yes.
next.
No, he would
Holy
just play
frick.
like an Everbloom life,
Uh-huh.
let life resolve, respond to the Verdance ping, play Rampant Growth life, let life resolve, let Verdance ping resolve, hold priority still, and like just do that for like 3 Rampant Growths and then like stack a Sigil or something on top of it. So he's gained like 7 or 8 life or something on a
So
turn.
insane.
Let all of the Rampant Growths resolve, gets amp like 24, and then the Verdance ping, that first Verdance ping goes off, and it has all the amp on it.
Feels like a wizard to me. God dang. Holy frick.
Yeah. Because then it's like, as Victor, you need to contend with. Oh, he's doing it with healing potions, not Sigil, excuse me. So he gets to start with healing potions
Mm-hmm.
for however many,
Mm-hmm.
which now they have 4.
True.
Which means they can do it earlier because they find them earlier.
True.
And the whole time it's like, if you're just not pressuring Verdance, it's just like E-Strike go again into felling.
Mm-hmm. And that's gross. And that's just gross. I don't.
Yeah.
Outside of everything else, like Earth is slowly creeping up there with lightning and ice and being a real talent, like a terrifying talent. So
I mean, is it, or just all the heroes that were good with lightning and ice just gone?
I don't know.
Like
Felling's kind of
Aurora
gross.
just LL'd.
She did just go. Goodbye.
She
We have a Cilio left.
The only person who went faster than her was Starvo.
Okay.
Like this is the thing. Like looking at a meta that moves like this, and when like these hero like Florian was like suddenly the deck to beat, and Verdance is like looking really good now, but like you also just don't have Aurora in the meta anymore. It's like, did everything move up, or did the top 20% just disappear?
Well, Aurora definitely would have a field day with Gravy, I assume, right? Like just eat him alive.
Yeah, because Arc Lightning is any target.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of damage, which is something a lot of damage really fast is not something Gravy's super great at. And then if you can clear allies accidentally, then it's great.
Efficiently, but like she's gonna just snatch hit an ally at the end of like every turn. Like it wouldn't surprise me if they were on like yellow snatch to clear allies. Like that's how you really efficiently beat Gravy is Mask of Momentum and Snatch. And the way that like Prism is doing it is Herald of Erudition and Shariah.
Yeah.
Like just replacing cards out of your
It's so crazy.
Hand. So like Aurora would have done well, not as well as like Fi or Syndra are doing. But even those matchups, the good Gravy Bones players are like okay with. They're like 40 percenters and not like 20 percenters like Big Dragon Dromai was.
Yes.
But I don't know. I'm not. It's weird. I don't think Earth is like that good, but it is just like extremely solid, which is what Earth is supposed to be.
No, I guess that's a good point. So, there's another
like
point.
Earth's numbers are not crazy.
Yeah, no, well, I don't know. Felling.
They're not.
Felling at max.
Felling is good.
Is huge.
Felling is lower value than Codex.
It's like a 2-card. Let's say 12.
Let's say 11 because they pick the worst card out of their hand.
Sure. No, yeah, that's true. 2-card 11? That is lower than Codex, isn't it?
At like a 1-card 8, 9, 10.
I remember it came out. I forgot who said it. Someone said it was, oh my gosh, this card's a 1-card 16.
Okay, it's not that much. But like, we have powerful cards, and Felling is not any more of a surprise. And honestly, the best use for Felling is a Codex counter. You want to know what's hilarious? They Codex you when you have no arsenal. So you discard a card and they grab CNC and you grab Felling and you block 6 and you play Felling. I don't give a shit if that Felling's for 7. You just played a 4th Felling. Like, that's good.
No, that's really good. I was thinking like, no, I mean like the ways around it are like if it's you spiders bite Codex CNC. And then it's harder to like cover, but that's not guaranteed. And then also you run D-Reacts.
It's Earth Heroes. How much armor do they have?
1 billion.
They got a good amount.
A very, very healthy amount.
Yeah. So like I really don't think Earth is busted. I think it's just like all our numbers just like dropped as Enigma left and Zen left and Aurora left and Viserai left. Like Viserai would just dumpster these Earth Heroes.
Mm-hmm.
He would just play smart around Scour, never get blown out by it, and just run them over in terms of just like raw value. But like Codex bring back Felling or Conqueror feels pretty crappy.
Conqueror.
Yeah. If you're a ranger and you're playing Codex against a pirate hero and they just get back Conqueror.
No, it just feels bad in general because even for the assassins,
yeah.
you're pondering at the end of your turn anyways. And then they attack you for
but
7 or 8.
It's harder to defend a Conqueror and play it.
Yes.
Than it is defend a Felling, which only requires 1 card and not 2 blues. Yeah.
Felling pretty good.
Now, Gravy has all sorts of tricks to get around that when he has Compass and knows the top part of his deck. But I don't know. I think Fab is in a good place right now, and I think that's shown by how steady the drop off is in play rate at
Mm-hmm.
this event, whereas a very consistent drop from one hero to the next, and like it's a little bit from like first to second, and then it starts like leveling out,
Mm-hmm.
but like there's like no drop off compared to the London drop off from Aurora to Enigma.
We touched on it for a second,
Like,
and I'm kind of want to touch on it just a little bit more, which was
mm,
how many LL points were actually dished out this weekend?
20, 125, 75. I think it was just 75.
So Gravy gets half. Verdance
Gravy
gets
gets
half.
12 and a half. Verdance gets 25. U.S. National Championship is 50. So Verdance got 25
Uh-huh.
at half of the 50, and Gravy got 12 and a half at half of the 25.
That's not
So
many
they
points.
moved 2.5% and 1.25%, respectively.
That's not much.
That's nothing.
That's nothing. So little happened at one of the it's almost a tier 4 event, right?
Yeah,
Like
it's like U.S. Nats is like a tier 3.5 event.
nothing and almost nothing changed. LL points didn't
Yeah,
move hardly at all. Is that not
yeah.
crazy? Is that not wild?
I I think point 0.5 is too slow, and I think we could have seen that. Like point 0.5 is glacial. Like and we've talked about this before.
I think
Point 0.5 is so slow
it's so
that they have to
slow.
be heavy-handed with bans, and they already have been. They did
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
with the first ban list that would have hit with these LL changes because they got rid of Germinate, they got rid of Scepter, which
Yeah.
also like probably wouldn't have changed actually the outcome of this event, by the way, because Verdance just scours Florian like 3 times and then kills
Sure.
him with a combo.
There's the whole butterfly effect to the whole thing, but I
Yeah,
understand what you're saying.
sure. Like the other matchups get weird and like
Mm-hmm.
Scepter any target so you can use it on Gravy's allies, but then like he's just
Ooh.
gonna hit you with a whaler with go again, and then you're like,
You still get a
oh,
rune chant for any target?
you do.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
But like I think Gravy just explodes you as soon as he finds any go again, and he's just gonna
Sure.
call to the grave a back alley break line, and you're gonna
Mm-hmm,
cry.
mm-hmm. No, I agree. It
But
it is interesting. But like, I think one point I had at one point, or one idea I had at one point, I forgot if I shared it, was like, what if this only applied to like seasons, like road to national season, skirmish season, like local level seasons,
mhm.
and then big events could still feel like a big event. We handed out what
Yeah,
37 points at U.S.
yeah,
Nationals. That's crazy. What the
yeah.
frick?
I don't I don't know if that was.
What if it was older heroes? Then it's
Oh yeah, and they hand out 300.
it's in yeah. Cheese, cheese.
Not
No,
300.
not three
Wait,
hundred.
150.
It's 50 and
50 and 25. Yeah, yeah,
25.
yeah. I
One.
doubled it. 150
Yeah,
total
yeah,
is what it would have been if it was older heroes, which
yeah.
is
One
like
150 is a lot, but it's not.
that's still a solid chunk for
That's
one nationals, and
yeah.
we're gonna have another 49 of them
Oh, true. We
that
forgot
are
to talk
all
about nationals.
5, 10, or 25 points.
Hmm.
So, but it's still like it's still weird.
It's crazy because I almost feel like I don't know the amount of LL points that they're going to be handing out could fluctuate wildly depending on which hero gets it. But I guess they
Yeah, it
can
will.
narrow down on an individual hero level how many points that a hero could get. The the pendulum is a lot smaller.
Sort of. I mean, like this has always been a thing with the system. Is it's like it's gonna swing a huge amount on
Mm-hmm.
your pro tours and on your worlds. Like Dromai getting 300 points in LA was the difference between Dromai going next weekend or in 2 months. Like,
which matters.
that's just going to be a factor of that.
Yeah.
But like then their RTN and PQ seasons are probably slightly more predictable. So
it's so crazy.
I don't know. This is one where it's like, yeah, they're making up as they go along, but like, what else are they going to do?
I mean, that's what we would do, right? Like, that's what anyone would do. This is a brand new system.
Like, that's how this system works. Yeah. When you have...
It was...
I don't know. I think it's fine.
I think I'm finally coming around to, like, not being in shock of it, because when they announced it, I was like, that is such a... It feels like a core change. Like, a very, like, Flesh and Blood is built on, like, this concept, and we're shifting that concept a little bit, and it just felt like the foundation beneath me moved a little bit, but not necessarily in an awful way. It was just kind of like unsettling. And so I'm really excited to see where it all pans out. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
I don't know. I think I'm kind of there wasn't anything like super surprising, it felt like, from this weekend. I guess Verdance was higher than I anticipated, but looking at it, it's
much higher.
No, it's just kind of like looking at the matchups, like, it looks good. And if they have the Prism matchup figured out, then yeah, the field looks good for them, aside from New. And as soon as New is gone, they're super happy. Especially, and then once Azalea is gone, they're super happy. So like, Verdance is only looking to get better, which just means Florian's going to get worse. And I'm excited to watch Calling Bologna this weekend.
I'm excited to watch that. And I think always one of the things I'm most excited about, like, at big events, it's fun to like sit down and like watch them, like for Worlds and Pro Tours, and for really small events like Pro Quests, it's kind of interesting to see how the graph plays out. But I think Nationals season is like actually super interesting, because it's kind of both, where it's like a bunch of really big, or at least, you know, for the individuals playing in them, a bunch of really big events. And so I think it's just a really exciting season. And then every time, like, oh, did you hear what happened to Belgium? Did you hear what happened to this country? Like, that's super exciting. I love to hear stuff like that. Or like, there's always also stories where it's just like, this hero won, but they had 5 of this other hero in top 8 or something, like, you know, like weird stuff like that. I love it. Like, I don't know, some country like Britain's just going to be like, we had 5 Katsus in top 8. Verdance won, by the way. And it's like, what the frick? Yeah, it's like, you know, weird stuff like that happens. And I love it. So I think we'll wrap that up. We'll wrap it up here. Remember to go check out our merch at the tablepit-shop.fourthwall.com, where you can get shirts that look like not what we're wearing right now. And if you want to help make this stream look nicer and help us get supplies for our project video, our project videos, Kevin can help, right? You can support us over at patreon.com/thetablepit. All that money goes directly back into the pit. Kevin, do you have any shout outs?
Go watch DM Armada stream tomorrow.
Yes. Of course, go watch that stream tomorrow, because we're here today because of it tomorrow. Partially because I'm trying to see if I can help in any way I can for it, but also it seems like it's going to be a really good cause. It's a charity stream for St. Jude, I believe, which is kind of cool.
Sounds right.
Sounds great. Thank y'all so much for watching. We do this every Thursday. We also have No Blocks, a chill Talishar stream where we do and sometimes don't block. Saturday mornings at 9 right now. And then also later that afternoon, we have the Design Table, which is a Fab-themed art show at 1 p.m. Saturdays. Bye.